Hi Godotians, it's Andy the GD Script Dude with another video in the Tetron game development series. This time we will change the music button to a check button and add another button to turn sound effects on and off. We will add a main scene script and implement states of stopped, playing and paused, and then test the logic. Let's change the music button to a check button. Alter the text. Then duplicate it with Ctrl D and call this button sound. And again alter the text. So we want to disconnect the button down signal and also the same signal for the sound button. And we have unwanted callback function code for the button down signal, which we can delete. Now we want to connect the on press signal of the button to the GUI script. This inserts the callback function on music pressed. And similarly we do the same for the on sound pressed. Let's insert the code for emitting the signal of button pressed with the button name. And we do the same for the sound button callback function. Now let's add some property values for music and sound. These will indicate whether music and or sounds should be played. And we will have some setter and getter functions for the values. Now we have warnings of unused variables, but we can ignore these by clicking on the ignore link. Now let's run the scene to check for any errors. And we are done with the changes to the GUI. Moving on to the main scene, let's add an AudioStreamPlayer 2D node to the scene. This will be used to play the background music. Now add an instance of the GUI scene. And we will add an empty script to the scene. Let's add some enum values for the states of gameplay and for the actions. Add the ready function. Let's add a variable to reference the GUI node. And in the ready function, connect to the GUI's button pressed signal and set the button states. Add some constants to make the code more readable when setting button states. Add a state variable and initialize it with a state of being stopped. And add a variable to hold the music position for when we pause the game. Enter a callback function for handling the button pressed signal. We will use a match statement to control a state of the game based on which button was pressed and the current state of the game. So now, whenever one of the buttons is pressed, its name will be passed into this function, and the match statement will match it to one of the available names, i.e. new game, pause, music, sound, or about. And the relevant section of code will be run. Let's add in the code for when the new game button is pressed. We will call the setButtonStates function on the GUI and pass in the constant for disabled. And let's insert some declarative code for calling a start game function. Each time we start a new game, we want to print to the output window a diagnostic message, game playing, and also set the state variable to the playing state and the music position to 0 at the start of the track. And also we'll insert a _music function that accepts inputs for the actions of play, stop or pause of the music. So the music function has an if-else statement, and if we want to be playing music and the input action is play, then we start the music player. We start the music player from the saved music position in the track, and we print a message to the output window of music started. Otherwise, we save the current music position and we stop the music player, and we print a message to the output window of music stopped. If the pause button is pressed, if the state of the game is playing, then we want to change the text on the pause button to resume, and we want to set the state of the game variable to paused, and also pause playing of the music by sending the pause constant to the music function. Or if the pause button is pressed and the state is not playing, we want to set the text of the pause button to actually pause and the state of the game to playing, and start the music playing again by passing play to the music function. If the state of the music check button changes, we will receive the button down signal from the GUI for music. So in this case we check the state of the game. If the game is playing, we may turn the music on and off. If the GUI music variables is set true, that means the user wants to hear music. So we start the music playing by calling the music function with the play action. Else we call it with the stop action to turn the music off. We haven't handled the sound effects yet, so when the sound checkbox is changed, we will simply emit a message to the output window that we changed the sound setting, and come back to this some other time. Finally, the About button is handled by setting its text to disabled. The rest of the logic for the pop-up window is handled in the GUI logic. Now we can test what we've done by running the scene and clicking on the buttons and observing the messages in the output window and observing the state of them being disabled or enabled. So guys, we are at a stage now where the user interface parts are functional, with state control between stopped, playing and paused states. Next we can move on to creating the actual gameplay. Look forward to that in the next video. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Find a link to the source code in the description below.